lifelong passion for healthier living and community empowerment. With more than a decade of experience as a regulatory inspector, an educational foundation that includes dual majors in botany and zoology from the University of the West Indies and a master's in food safety from Michigan State University, Richards is on a mission to transform Jamaica's cultural approach to food safety. And she now joins us. Alison Richards, good morning.
Hi, Althea. Thank you for having me.
So good to have you on.
Thank you.
It's good to be talking food with somebody else who talks food.
Listen, very far and in between, but I'm happy to be here.
Listen to me. What got you interested in food safety?
Well, I love food. Food was, I think, and I stumbled into food safety. I remember finishing up my degree at the university, and one of my dear professors,
in botany and zoology?
Yes, one of my dear lecturers at the time, Dr. Robinson, came and he was like, there's this vacancy at this inspection company, which was the FSPID at the time, and I applied, got the job, and from there it just evolved into something that I would have never imagined. And having done regulatory work for a little over 14 years, I realized that people really don't know what I'm going to these places to expect. Persons eat food, they think about when you see the food vlogs and this food tastes nice, but what really happens behind the scene? What do we need to know?
That's right.
And culturally, I think we have bouts of foodborne illness, but we're often tantamounted to gas. So I have little gas, let me drink little ginger tea, but oftentimes you're close to death, so you don't even realize. So
one of the things that I have not spoken about yet on this platform is the fact that I have severe food allergies.
See?
So even though I talk food all the time, there are so many different types of food that I cannot consume.
And fun fact,
straight to the hospital.
May is actually food allergy month.
Look at that.
Yes, so it's very fitting
Yes.
that you bring that up.
And the thing is that you're so right. We don't often know what is going on behind the scenes. So we have to I think, police the food that we eat.
True.
And how it is that the food is prepared. All right, so we're talking food safety. Where does food safety begin?
With you. I say always with you. It's everybody's responsibility, and it begins not only in your kitchen, it begins from where your food comes from. So as far as the farm, and fitting for the show. So where does our food come from? Our primary producers, so our plants, our fresh produce, or animals that are slaughtered for us to eat. So that is where food safety really begins.
Okay. There are also so many risks involved. If we just take a look at what happened recently with Hurricane Melissa, and certainly there's some types of food that could not be consumed post Melissa in the regions where they were hardest hit, and that can be very problematic. So what are some of the risks that people face out there in farming and in food preparation institutions?
So coming out of the hurricane, we know with the heavy rainfall that came with flooding. And once we have flooding, this is where our agricultural crops are affected, because we have water runoff from our farms, or our animals probably, pass their feces, and that is a whole lodgement of E. coli flowing downstream, flooding our plants, and of course that is where the issue comes in. So if our plants are contaminated, then of course we have to implement rigorous washing systems for our fresh produce.
Do we practice that?
Not as often as we should.
Is that an issue with how we are being educated, or perhaps not being educated?
I think culturally, we use our vinegar, which is citric acid, or acetic acid rather, and we use in our lime. So we do culturally implement some things that can reduce the risk, or the bacterial load, as we call it, when it comes down to fresh produce. But we have to also bear in mind that fresh produce is not heat treated; it's a ready to eat food. So we're literally just washing it, and we often consume it raw. So that is what makes it risky. Persons, do you have access to clean water? Because yes, we're washing off all of these things, but are we washing it with clean water? The other risk was our animals. We saw that animals had drowned, and persons were selling it as meat. So the risk with that is that every slaughtered animal has to be drained. The fancy word is exsanguinated. You have to make sure all the blood drains out, because once you have blood stagnating in the animal, then that is just a whole nother disaster waiting to happen. So that was another risk. The risk also of access to clean water, because water is life. We use it to do everything. So if water is contaminated, then our juice that we're making, our food we're cooking with, all of those things introduce that risk.
It's a chain.
It's a chain.
Chain. All right, hold on for us, Alison. We're taking a break, and then when we come back, we'll pick up.
All right.
technology, then you need Tech for Life. Every Wednesday morning at 8:15 on the
Josie's
Sunny
phone.
Side Up Morning Show,
It's
join
from
Carlette Delian as she breaks down
CB.
everything you need to know. From the
No,
latest trends
He's
to
into food
simple
safety too.
practical tactics for everyday life.
Okay.
He just sent a message that food safety is everybody's
to our
business.
That is
WhatsApp
it.
line 876-553-5908 and get real answers live on air. Tech for Life Wednesdays with Carla Delian, making technology simple, useful, and part of your life.
Sol Jamaica SRL, operators of Texaco service stations, star of the Jamaican Road. And the time brought to you by Sol Jamaica SRL is 13 minutes before we get to 6 o'clock.
I'm engaging in conversation this morning. The food safety girl, Alison Richards, food safety professional consultant and public educator. And she says that much of what she does is premised on the fact that she loves food. She wants to ensure that the food that she's having is good and wholesome.
Right.
So we're talking from farm to fork. How do we ensure that that happens? Alison pointing out, because I mentioned the fact that I have food allergies and severe food allergies at that this month is food safety awareness month, food allergy awareness month.
Yeah.
So I probably need to do a feature on that as well. Very important. I will speak to my friend Dr. Jacqueline Campbell and engage her in conversation about that. So thank you so very much for that, Alison. All right, so we're talking about issues such as ensuring that the food is safe, and you mentioned what happened during Hurricane Melissa. People selling meat, animals that drowned, and of course, you use the fancy term exsanguinated, which is to really drain the body of the blood.
Yes, sir.
They shouldn't be having the food at all. As
They
far as I'm
shouldn't.
concerned, if the animal dies in that unnatural way, they shouldn't be having it. But the reality is that some people are going to do that. So what do we as consumers need to do to ensure that we're having safe food under those kinds of circumstances?
That's a great question. I always encourage people to use our senses. That's why God gave them. Right? So we're looking.
If it don't smell
If
good, it don't good.
Yeah, exactly. So if it don't look right, if the meat look discolored, if it look black and blue, just like when we get somebody hit us and we look black and blue, if the meat look like that, it means blood is settling. If it don't look nice and pink, something is definitely off. If it smell bad, chances are something is wrong with it, right? If it feels slimy to the touch, something is wrong. So I think that is just the main thing, just looking, observing, smelling, feeling, touching, right? And also, if you're in doubt, if you have questions, throw it out. When in doubt, throw it out.
Yes. Even if you have something stored in your refrigerator, and if you do that smell and look test, you should get rid of it.
Yes, because sometimes it will smell okay, but it's not okay. So for leftover foods, for example, we don't want to leave those beyond three to 4 days in your fridge, right?
I'm not a leftover kind of girl. I tell people that if I take food home and I put it in the refrigerator, I'm not going to
You're
eat
probably
it.
going to throw it out.
I'm probably going to throw it out.
Yeah, but we do, and especially for persons, because I meal prep a lot. So I meal prep on a Sunday, so how is it that you're making sure that that food stays long enough? So, you're making sure you release a bit of the steam out of the food, airtight containers, put it in the coldest part of your fridge. Open up and close your fridge. It's so hot now, so you have to really make sure that you're paying attention to those things.
Touch on that issue of meal prep a little bit for us, because many of us are having to meal prep these days simply because our lives are so full of activities.
Yeah.
Who is meal prep for?
It's for the person who is in a calorie deficit, working out at the gym, busy, don't have time to cook, commuting long hours.
You have one day a week to cook.
You have 1 day a week to just throw down in the kitchen, package your meals. And how I often do it is that I don't pack meals, I pack them individually. So for example, I'm a chicken breast type of girl and I do a salad, so I will actually pre-prep my salad. So I cut up all my lettuce, put it in one container, and then I stack it in a jar in the mornings to go out. If I'm doing cooked food or rice, I store them separately and then I package it on the morning of cold to carry it out. So what that does is that when you're storing it, because different foods have different, technicalities to it. So protein, might probably go a bit. So you want to keep those separate and then you mix them when you have to. And of course, when you're reheating, you have to reheat till it's steaming through. So you can't just warm it up and say, oh, it tastes cold, but me still go on. No, you have to make sure it's piping hot. And you can't reheat food. So if you warm up, whatever you warm up is what you should consume. Don't put it back in the fridge.
There are some people who, they don't even reheat water. They say if you've boiled a kettle of water, that and you don't use it, throw it out and get a fresh kettle.
Wow.
Yeah, most of us not going to do that.
Yeah.
All right,
We're saving water.
that's right. We have to conserve. Safe water, pesticide use, storage, and handling are other issues
Yes.
that are of concern when it comes to food safety.
Mhm.
Tell us a little bit about that.
All right, so we touched on water earlier. It must, if you don't have clean water, then it defeats the purpose of everything, of sanitation, of washing your fruits and your vegetables, of washing your hand, right? And then we're talking about pesticide usage. That is such a common and emerging issue that we refer to in food safety, because persons are treating crops, and we're having the uptick of predial larceny, it's rather rolling out that thing. I see even in the news, someone got arrested because they couldn't account for some fresh produce they had, right? So you have the case where farmers are treating their crops and persons stealing them, and that period between treatment, there has to be a window where you actually wait for the crop to give it some time. You come to tea if you don't really know what's happening.
Right.
You come and you sell it to an unsuspecting consumer. And pesticides are heat stable, so no matter what you do, you cannot cook it away, you cannot pressure it away. It's just there to stay, and it's toxic in most cases. So how do you, as a consumer, because people always say, if them follow me, them don't eat food. So I always love to share, how can you, as a consumer, protect yourself?
Well, give us some tips.
Washing, right? You're washing your fresh produce. Peeling is all, because if you can't get it away, because some pesticides might be water soluble, some are not. Peeling is a good way to remove access to that, right? And you also storage, because you don't want to store it anywhere where it might be exposed. So peeling, washing, and of course, if you're not how do you store it, right? Yeah.
All of that is critical. Another issue that you area of focus for you is cold chain challenges in Jamaica, and that's a real issue.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about how it is that you think we should be managing that.
Well, for fresh produce, because that's really what we need, and our fresh or meat and stuff, we have to be able to maintain cold chain from harvesting to consumers, right? And consumers have that duty to carry on their way to home. So maintaining cold chain is really just making sure that the temperature of our foods are set at from preparation, harvesting, are maintained until you're ready to eat it, because that is really what slows down the growth of bacteria. Now, if you fail to maintain those temperature, spoil it starts, because it's there,
and you can see it when you take the food.
So it's either your products start wilting, it start black and blue, you start smell. So what people all often confuse is that freezing stops or prevent bacteria. It doesn't stop it, it just slows it down. So if it starts spoil and then you start freeze it, when you unfreeze it, its spoilage is still there. So that is why it's important to maintain it. Consumers are always the villain in this one, because we're going to the supermarket and the first thing we pick up is the meat in our cart, and we walk around the whole supermarket and then we pick our shoes, and then we leave the supermarket with this meat on the front seat. We stop down at Keisha because we have to go say hi to Keisha, and then we stop at the pharmacy, and then we drive around the whole world till we get home, and then we're putting ourselves at risk, right?
Yes.
So we have to make sure that walk with the igloo, let it be the last product you pick up in the supermarket. Just trying to map your route, go to the supermarket last, so all of those things you want to consider. And of course, when you're preparing, meat thawing is another thing. How are you defrosting your chicken, right? Are you leaving it in a whole vat of water? Definitely not safe. You're running it on the cold water, or you're putting it in your refrigerator a couple of days before you want to use it, right?
Which is what you recommend, keeping it in the refrigerator at the bottom.
Yes.
Until it is fully.
And you're not storing it above your ready-to-eat foods, because you don't want your meat sauce dripping down onto food that's already prepared to eat.
I already know that I'm going to need more conversation with you. All right. So how does poor food handling affect farmers financially?
Well, food loss. Right, there's in this age of technology and social media, the last thing you really want to do is to have anybody associate your food or your brand with anything that's negative. So if you're not practicing proper food handling, persons buy your products, they get sick. I'm telling my family when them come Christmas and say, me need £10 or so, I'm gonna say, no, I'm not getting it from John, because the last time this happened.
Yes,
so outside of persons getting ill, there is food loss, and farmers are working so hard. The last thing you want to do is to jeopardize that just by poor food handling practices, because you're losing money and you're losing food, and we don't have no time to be losing food right now.
A question for you. Is it luck why we haven't had more challenges in terms of foodborne illnesses in this country of ours?
No, I
When you
think
come,
it's the gap in surveillance. So I do think bouts of foodborne illnesses have come about, but we have a culture of self-diagnosis. So me not feel well,
drink a
to drink like a
Cersei.
tea,
Little
drink like a
busy.
ginger. We're not gonna go to the doctor, right? And if there is a surveillance system in place, how effective is it? If you don't go to the doctor, nobody can tell, nobody can record this incident, right? Also, culturally, we have the habit of overcooking. So we pressure, we stew, we boil out. So that has saved us, I'm telling you. But with the food culture changing, we're more getting a bit more Americanized. We're sprinkling our little herbs on our salads. That is now increasing the risk, because persons are now adapting to a different palate.
Yeah.
So those are some things that we want to consider.
All right. And one final thing, World Food Safety Day is observed annually on June 7th. What are you going to be doing on World Food Safety
I'm
Day?
going to be doing what I do best, talk about food safety. So I'm hoping I have a few interviews lined up for that week. I'm collabing with a few companies as well to spread the word of food. And that is really and it's a day, but I have a week. So it's a week for me. And this year it's on a Sunday. And just to share with your listeners a bit about what World Food Safety Day is. It is an initiative created by the Food Agriculture Organization and the World Health Organization, FAO and WHO. And the idea is really just to boost consumer awareness around food safety. This year's theme is about from burdens to solution. What are we looking at? What burden are we facing as a society on a whole? There's climate change, there's food waste, all of these things. How can we find solutions that address those situations? So that is what I'm going to be focusing on, trying to share that information. I have social media content lined up for everybody.
Give us those social media handles, because
so you can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, the Food Safety Girl. Did I say TikTok? Yes, I'm everywhere. Every social media platform, the Food Safety Girl.
You name it and you're there.
Yes, I have an article out in Observer today. I'm not sure, don't remember which one, but that is every Thursday you can expect an article on food safety. I also have a series of monthly webinars, free monthly webinars, where it's literally just talking about food safety. The next one is coming up in the second week. Most definitely. Most definitely.
Closer to Food Safety Day or your Food Safety Week. We'll have you in for more conversation. Thank you so very much, Alison.
Thank you, Althea, for having me.
Thank you. You take care. Alison Richards there, food safety professional, consultant, and public educator. The Food Safety Girl. We break now for the news and the weather with Paula Annett. When we come back, it will be time for us to join Jackra for their commodity.